You are listening to the On Purpose Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to episode 164 of the On Purpose Podcast. As always, we are blessed for this time in your life and this space in your home as we bring stories of purposeful living to you and to communities around the world. This week, I'm super excited. One, because I get to say the word shenanigans a bunch of times. And we have a special guest, Zanna Wolfgang, a wife, mom, serial entrepreneur, and creator of Love and Shenanigans. Zanna, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm super awesome. And like I said, anytime I get to say the word shenanigans over and over, I am excited because I just giggle inside.
Right? It's one of my favorite words too.
And I love how we were talking off the air and your kids were telling you not to create a business around that name because nobody can spell it.
Yes, they were, but turns out it's a thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a thing. And you know what? We can challenge people to learn how to spell. And quite honestly, your phones correct everything anyhow.
This is true.
So, Zanna, tell us a little bit about what brings you to the On Purpose podcast.
Well, I am just excited to share a little bit about Love and Shenanigans. And I sought you guys out because I am just very passionate about living life on purpose and with purpose. And so when I happened upon you, I wanted to share a little bit about my purpose.
Oh, man, we're blessed. And that's the thing I love. And that's one of the reasons I created this podcast is I'm passionate, as an understatement, of sharing stories with people that maybe we haven't heard of or we don't know yet, and getting rid of the stigma that if you don't have a blue check mark next to your name, your story doesn't create value or carry weight.
Absolutely.
So here we go. But before you listen a little bit so you know kind of the routine, before I get you to the heavy, purposeful content, Zanna, we got to warm you up just like a good workout. Like you can't go out on the farm and start throwing hay without a good warm-up here.
All right, I'm in.
All right, here we go. So our community needs to know, Zanna, you're trapped on an island for the rest of your life. You get one food. What will you be eating?
Oh, I mean, does nachos count as one food?
You know, I think so. It's your share island. You could take whatever you want with you. Nachos, what are you going to throw on those nachos? What are your favorite
Oh my
go-tos?
gosh. Nachos are my weakness. So the cheese, the real cheese, not the, nacho cheese, I guess, and jalapenos for sure, onions, all the good stuff, and some meat. I'm a happy girl with those things.
I love it. So not that canned cheese, though. You got to have some real sliced up cheese.
Got to have the real cheese. Yeah.
Yeah. I got to tell you, though, there's a time in my life, like when our kids were younger and they were playing sports, that if I could sneak off to that high school little snack bar that they had and get that little fake cheese, I might have done it.
Oh, I do it every time too. But if I'm making the best nachos.
That's true.
But I'm weak for all the stuff.
All right. Yep. Fair enough. Nachos it is. All right, Zanna, you have one superpower in the world. It can be whatever you want it to be. What is your power and why do you want to have it?
Ooh, gosh, I'm on the spot with that one. I think just the ability to make people smile on a day they might not otherwise. I just help people have a reason to smile.
I love it. I think out of all the guests, like 90% of our guests always want a superpower for other people's benefit, which I think is probably why they're drawn to the show to begin with.
Probably. And I think, we just need more to smile about in this crazy world.
Amen. All right. What book are you currently reading? And what would you say is your favorite book?
Oh, gosh. I am currently reading Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And I love it. I actually have my 17-year-old son, who's a senior in high school, reading it right now too, and our whole family. And it's super fun hearing him really get some great takeaways from it as he's about to launch off into the world. So great, just mindset book.
Love it.
Yeah. And my favorite book, oh gosh, there's so many. But I'm very big on just relationships. So I would say the 5 love languages.
Oh, yeah.
It's applicable to so much.
Sure. Yeah, that's always a good one. That's definitely a classic that seems to transcend generations and time.
Absolutely. Simple but not easy stuff, right?
For sure. All right, Zanna, you get to go to dinner with one person, either still alive or has passed away. Who are you going to dinner with, and what do you want to ask them?
Oh, Betty White. She's my
Oh,
favorite.
Betty White. She has so many good
Uh,
one-liners.
she is so great. And in fact, one of our pigs is named after Betty. I don't know if that's a compliment to her or not. Yeah, I would love to go to dinner with her. She just had a contagious spirit and a beautiful outlook on life. And again, had that superpower of making people smile.
I love it. That's fantastic. All right, are you feeling warmed up, Zanna?
I am.
Good. I think we are warmed up as well. And now let's get to talk to me about the serial entrepreneurship gene you have. Because as I was preparing for this stuff, I was finding you popping up all over the place.
Oh, very good. I am just passionate about doing things that impact others' lives, I guess. And I've found a way to help it make us some money and also give money back. And that's pretty inspiring. So, yes, we have a program called Honor the Brave that began after my husband was retired from law enforcement, injured in the line of duty. And it was our way to use the resources and skill set that we had, which I was a licensed realtor, and we found a way to give back to first responders and military through their real estate transactions. And so that's a huge passion for me, just to make an impact with every transaction and show our appreciation for those who serve.
I love it.
And then,
Ooh.
yeah, and then of course, it's just continuing to evolve with Love and Shenanigans.
Yeah, and I love this. Like, so you guys were high school sweethearts.
Yes, 15 and 16.
Man, that's so amazing. And you know, what I find interesting is your husband was injured in the line of duty, and so many times, and rightfully so, they get a lot of the attention, right? Because it's their physical ailments that everybody can see, that is visually apparent, like, okay, something happened to this soldier or this person in this line of work. But a lot of times what we don't see is what's going on to the family members that care for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think any service member, whether that's first responders or military, it takes the whole family. It's a sacrifice on the whole family's part. And so, as I've mentioned to you, I feel like I got to see the boy I fell in love with become the man he was meant to be, finding his calling in law enforcement. And then to see that taken away, not on his terms when he was injured, was heartbreaking. And it took its toll on him, and it definitely took its toll on us. It took, as a couple, as a family, couldn't wrestle with the kids anymore. Just, the day-to-day things were different for us.
Yeah, and I love something you sent in your information to us is that, you know, you guys moved to Montana and you kind of set up your new life. And one of the foundations was a quote that you guys had: if only. You switched from if only to why not. Talk about that, and how did that switch in words and mindset change the course of where you guys were headed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm a believer now that, I'm grateful for when things are hard or life is uncertain, because I know that's an opportunity for us to grow, having come through some of the hardships that we have been through. And, that was a really dark season for us. But we got the help that we needed and the resources we needed. And through that, we were really just able to change how we looked at it. And instead of looking at it like, why is this happening to us? It's like, why is this happening for us? And though it was hard and physically for him, obviously mentally, emotional for all of us, so many blessings came from that hardship. And now our whole family is more like, okay, bring it on. Cause whatever you got, we can take it on and we'll be better for it. So it made us pick our family up from California and pick our perfect canvas, which was Montana. And what would have seemed crazy, and I know did seem crazy to a lot of our family and friends, is just, why the heck not? That's where we want to be. That's what we want to do. Let's do it. What's stopping us?
Amazing. And how's that benefited the kids? What kind of
Oh gosh. When we first moved here, our boys were in fifth and seventh grade. Now they are a senior and sophomore in high school. And within the first year of moving here, um, our seventh grader came to us and said, you know, through this experience, I've learned that you can just do anything. You can just make a decision and go do it. And for a 13-year-old to harness that is pretty awesome. And he's now 17 and preparing to go out in the world. And I know he's going to go kick butt. And I know that it's because he's seen us pick ourselves up by the bootstraps and get back up when we've been knocked down. And we're inevitably going to be knocked down. And I think that's one of the blessings that my kids have gotten from our journey is they know it's not if you get knocked down, it's when, but it's all about getting back up. And then the opportunities they have here to just be kids, from the time we moved here at fifth and seventh grade, they were able to take a bus up to the ski mountain every day by themselves. It was safe enough to do that. And so they ski, they fish, they're just able to have adventures they wouldn't have otherwise had and so much freedom. And that's been such a blessing.
I love it. It's funny you say that because I literally a few weeks back just did an episode called Safety Nets, Not Security Blankets. And in that, I was drawing parallels that as leaders, whether it's parenting or supervising others in a workplace, I want to provide a safety net for you so that you take risk, you'll go forward, you make mistakes, you may fall, but I'll catch you if you fall so that it's not a fatal situation.
Yep.
But I don't want to be a security blanket to where every time you feel fear, you feel anxious, I wrap you in my arms and pull you back from the ledge.
Yeah.
Because then you won't grow.
I agree 100%. In fact, that reminds me of another book I love. It's called Slacker Mom. If there's one parenting book I love, it is that book. And she just talks about, how her toddler, she's just trying to finish the last chapter in this book. And her toddler wakes up and she's just like, oh, just reading. And she hears the stool screwed across the kitchen floor. And then she hears him climb up and get into the cookies on the counter. And she's like, oh, I'm just pretending I don't know this right now because I want to finish this last chapter. And anyway, she's just a slacker mom. But the second part of that is that because she's a slacker mom, her kids are so capable. They figure out how to do things like climb up on the counter and get the cookie. But the point is, with our kids, I've always been an advocate of letting them try things, and I let them fall down. And I think they will do well in life because I let them fall down and I let them take risks. And now they're doing backflips on the ski mountain,
Yeah.
I just can't watch.
Well, that's not for all of us. And I truly believe that most people that act as security blankets don't do it maliciously. Like their heart is in a great place. They're I just don't want my kid to suffer the pain I felt. But what we forget is that perspective that because you felt pain, you created something different in the future. You worked harder to avoid that pain again or to overcome it, or you know what I mean? That pain is that lesson point, is the teacher.
I 100% agree with that. I think learning to navigate adversity is such a key to life success.
And talk to me about this. How do you, because losing the way your family eats and pays its bills and stuff is a huge blow to ego. It's a huge blow to the foundation of a family, stability. How did you manage to come from that and still want to find joy every day and find the good in what could be a bad situation?
That's a good question. And I think a lot of it is a little bit how I was raised. My mom has been through a lot in her life, but she always found the light and the positive. And I really understand that joy is a choice. And in fact, that was one of the challenges, I think, for Jeff and I, my husband, when he was coming through his surgeries and recovering, because quite frankly, he was pretty pissed at the world. And I tend to be like, well, it could be worse, which, it's kind of annoying when you feel like you're at your rock bottom and you're like, oh, it could be worse. And he's like, I kind of want to punch you in the face, not literally. So that said, it was really challenging because I needed to let him feel what he needed to feel. And he got through that, and then he could see that joy again and find that purpose again. And I think I just said it right there. I think the ability to find joy is rediscovering purpose, and that purpose evolves over time. And so he lost his purpose and had to find a new one. And my purpose has always been very much my family. So mine wasn't as rocked through that in that respect. But I think anything, like we work a lot with first responder and veterans organizations that are doing things for PTSD and things like that. And what I find to be the common theme in success is finding purpose after losing purpose. And so I don't know,
Yes.
I'm always seeking things that make me feel purposeful, and that brings me joy.
And I think that is such a huge talent and something that shouldn't be understated. And I talk about this quite a bit, is it's okay for purpose to change.
It is. It's ever evolving.
It should be, right? Like if I always say this, if Jerrod today that's sitting here interviewing you had the same purpose as Jerrod that was at 22, this would be a terrible interview. Because I was all about me at 22. Like my purpose was finding my way in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think sometimes we hold on too much to our identity of what we think, instead of sometimes the world's going to work in a very mysterious way, whether you believe in God or just the universe, whatever you believe, it's going to work in mysterious ways to put you where you need to be at the right time.
Absolutely. And that's that whole perspective thing, right? It's just shifting that, why is this happening to me than for me? Because I feel like everything does have purpose when you look back on it. When you're in it, you're like, man, how can this be a good thing? But inevitably, when you find your way through it, it had its purpose. And part of that is just polishing us. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for the adversity, and the blessings. I say the blessings and the lessons, right? Because
Absolutely.
If it's not good, it's a lesson, and that turns into a blessing.
It does. Absolutely. 100%. And I think that, let's be honest, would you guys be in this position right now if your husband and the family hadn't faced the struggles it faced in his career?
Absolutely not.
Right. And that's
I don't even know if we'd still be married, who knows?
Right. We don't.
I hope so.
Well, I believe in you. I believe you would be. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You don't know if you'd have made a move to Montana and your kids would have had this fantastic, what some would call nostalgic type childhood, that quite honestly, Montana's one of the few places you can still do that.
It is. Absolutely. Yep.
And I think that's great for our community here, is like your blessings aren't always going to show up in gift wrap boxes under the Christmas tree. They're going to show up a lot of times with cuts and bruises and scrapes on your knees and doubts and wondering why.
Agreed. 100%.
But once you get through that, then you're like, oh, wait a second. I was learning here. There was something. My path was supposed to be over here and I was on the wrong tracks.
Absolutely. And I think you find your strength and your gifts through those bumps and bruises, and so I'm ever evolving with that and discovering what I'm good at and accepting what I'm not good at and being okay with that too. And all of that comes from the bumps and bruises.
So how do you live with your purpose every day of making sure that you're inspiring others? What are some things, some practices that you make sure you do every day to give back?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I start from gratitude every day. I talk to God. I thank him every day for my blessings and my lessons, and just really come from that place of gratitude. And then I go down and I start my day with all of our animals these days, which is a busy routine and amazing. But man, you can't not be thankful for God or whatever it is that you call it when you're just among these amazing little beings and looking out on these amazing mountains. I just sillily enough like to start my day with a little post on social media that to me is positive to whoever might need that positivity that day. Starts my day right, and hopefully it starts someone else out there's day right as well.
I love it. And that's one of the things I've always talked about and I share over and over is living a purposeful life isn't necessarily going to be a one-time big event where you made it. It's small things over and over. It's opening doors for strangers. It's greeting the cashier at the grocery store, asking how their day is. It's just caring about the people around you. And I always try to remind people not to sit back and think that you're going to find purpose by sitting and watching. It's going to find you by being active and by sharing it and by, like you said, being intentional every morning to be grateful for all the blessings around you instead of letting the world fill your mind with ideas that maybe you don't have enough.
Yeah, and life is always going to life us. But I find that even if I'm having a down day, and let's, face it, things aren't always rainbows and butterflies. I know I can kind of sound like that's how I think, but I have my days too. And I used to have what they called a bullshit smile, or I've been called out for a bullshit smile. Like I smile even when I'm not smiling inside,
Yeah.
And there's a time and place for that, of course. But at the end of the day, I have learned it's okay to let yourself feel what you need to feel and move through whatever that is. But it's a choice not to stay there. And I do make that conscious choice, even on hard days, to let myself feel it, but then not to stay there. And honestly, just like you just said, holding a door or giving someone a reason to smile, just shooting someone a text, letting them know you're thinking of them. When I'm having a hard day, that can turn my day around just by doing something positive for someone else.
Yeah, Zanna, let's go back real quick. Share with us if you have any tips or what is the strategy you use to allow yourself to sit with the moment that is uncomfortable, whether it's the doubts or the fears, the anxiousness. What do you do to allow yourself to sit there but not stay there? Do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it's been all over the map. Definitely having a regular workout routine for me is a huge release when I need to work through some things. But also sometimes it's just sitting and letting myself have that moment to cry, or, in some of those harder seasons, I would literally go for a drive and I would scream at the top of my lungs, so much so that I ended up laughing at myself, like I can't believe I'm driving in my car screaming, but then I end up laughing at myself. And just whatever I have to do to let it out, and so, or some days it's just, meeting a friend or watching a chick flick and letting myself completely cry and laugh and do whatever and just feel the things I've been needing to feel. And then I'm like, okay, I felt that and I'm moving on.
Yes. I think that's such a huge lesson for people is like we're human, and as humans we're supposed to have all the emotions.
Right.
We're not supposed to be happy 24/7. We're not supposed to be sad 20. We're supposed to have a range of emotions, and learning to allow yourself to feel them, to accept them, but then also process it so you can move past it, I think is a skill that at times we're lacking.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, one thing I didn't touch on, which I don't know how I didn't, music is huge therapy to me. It's, if there's not something I can put into words, there's surely a song I can find that sums up what I'm feeling, and I can listen to that, and it's therapy for me. And all my friends and family know I have musical brain. In fact, I think it's contagious, but I have a song for anything. Whatever you're going through, I've got a song I'm going to send you to.
That's funny. All right. Well, we got to know, Zanna. We got to know, what is your go-to? I'm down in the dumps. I need something to pick me up. What are you throwing in?
Oh gosh. Well, when I want to just feel what I'm feeling down in the dumps, there's a song called Stand Back Up by Sugarland. That's huge for me. But God, I love music so much. It's hard to pick just one. I love the song Jump by Pointer Sisters. That gets me up and going.
That's not what I was guessing. I was not going to guess Pointer Sisters.
Which is funny because I'm very much, I love all music, but old school country has my soul 100%. Like I go out and shovel the poop out of the barn and turn on my old school country. And like, that is an amazing moment for me.
Now, okay. So now generations are different, right? So I remember, coaching at the gym one day. I was like, all right, we're going to do old school hip hop Friday. So I was playing like what was old school to me was from like the 70s and 80s. And the kids and the students in the class were like, Coach, we thought like Tupac and Biggie was old school. And I'm like, no, that's not old school. So when you say old school, what is old school to you? Old school country. Who are we talking about?
Like David Allan Coe, Merle
Oh,
Haggard,
okay. You are
George
going old
Jones, like,
school.
yeah, old school. But I love it all the way through. Randy Travis, George Strait, Blake Shelton, and I love it all. I mean, I love pop stuff too, but my heart is in country.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, I was trying to find in the notes you sent me, but you actually quoted a country song somewhere. And
Yes, I sure did. See, that's my musical brain coming out. It's a song by Daryl Worley.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I don't even remember the name of the song, but I know the lyrics. And I love this crazy, tragic, sometimes almost magic, awful, beautiful life.
Yeah.
And that is just sums it up, right?
That is so good. And I love it. And it's funny because when I was reading it, I was like, I hadn't got to where you like, yes, these are lyrics. I was like reading it. I was like, I know these words.
Yep.
That is so funny. All right. So let's shift gears if you're okay with it. And let's talk about love and shenanigans in your funny farm. I am intrigued by this.
Yes. Well, it was never meant to be more than a thing that I did every day that I loved. But as I kind of mentioned to you, I'm taking this course prepping for a podcast I want to start and some women's retreats I want to do. And I went down this rabbit trail in this course and ended up starting this whole little store inspired by my funny farm. And so I started sharing the funny farm on social media at the suggestion of a friend because it does make people smile. And then through that, like I said, went down this rabbit trail of making this store called Love and Shenanigans. And Love and Shenanigans really is a theme in my life when I reflect on things. And I love the word shenanigans. Everyone knows me for that word. Anyone who knows me knows I love the word shenanigans. And I just love shenanigans. So that said, that's what the funny farm is to me. It's love and just daily shenanigans. They're always up to something. They busted out the other day, but they just bring a lot of love and joy. They have every animal, right? They just have such a sweet spirit. Can't have a bad day, or I suppose you can, but you go down and visit them and it's going to turn around. And so that's what love and shenanigans is to me. Just exactly what it says.
So how did you decide to start a little farm? So when you moved to Montana, were you guys farmers in California, or your family ranchers or anything?
No, and my husband's family grew up ranching, and my grandpa had some cattle, but no, we weren't, and didn't even see it on the radar. But it was just kind of an evolution. When we bought 32 acres out here in the gateway of Montana, I got goats because they just were so stinking cute. And I wasn't planning on evolving to much more than that. They were just pets ultimately to me. I'm by no means a farmer. And then I happened upon cooney pigs that I just fell absolutely in love with. And they're just the cutest, ugliest little pigs you ever did see. With the sweetest little dispositions. And so I'm like, I need cooney pigs. And my family, of course, just laughed at me. But that said, supported me in adding that to my crazy vision, because it's kind of my little dream that's continuing to evolve. And so the cooney pigs came on the radar. And then one of my girlfriends kept telling me, you need alpacas. And I'm like, oh gosh, no, they're like little llamas and I don't love llamas. Then of all things, I went to the mall and they happened to have baby alpacas in the mall because that's Montana. And I fell in love with them. They are just adorable and so much cuter than llamas and sweeter too. And so I came home. Actually, I think I texted my husband a picture and said, I think we need alpacas. And he's like shaking his head. Oh no, here we go. And so, we have them. And then I just fell in love with the Highland cows, the fluffy cows. And so one thing led to another. I keep falling in love and we keep adding animals.
And he keeps saying yes, apparently.
He keeps saying yes. And it's perfect for him because he actually loves them too. But because it's mine, then he can pick and choose what he's responsible for. So it's great. That
is true. And what is you mentioned doing women's retreats. What what's your vision and calling there? And
Yeah. So it's all just this vision and evolution that I intend to implement over this next year. So the women's retreats, and maybe it'll even be couples at times, but I am very passionate just through our journey of loving and learning and growing um, about relationships too. And I just want people to have the best relationships they can have. And I believe a lot of people, end up divorced, and maybe it's not because they had to. I think it's because they didn't have the tools to move through whatever challenges they were experiencing. And I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I certainly want to be an inspiration to that. And I feel like I can speak on behalf of that just to women because I am a woman. And so
sure.
I just really want to bring people in. I feel like both my husband and I feel like Montana is just a healing place. It's so good for the soul. And so I want to bring women in and just share our journey and the ups and downs and craziness of it and the things that have been powerful for us to have our best marriage. And we've been through our hell, but we are so much better for it. And I want to help other people be there too.
I love it. And a lot of what you're shooting for and wanting to share with them is your mindset shift and going
Mm-hmm.
from victor to survivor to warrior. So talk us through, because those terms can mean different things to different audiences. What does victor, survivor, warrior mean to you and to what you hope to encapsulate at Love and Shenanigans?
Yeah, it's interesting how there's all these layers, but they all really do um, complement each other, I guess. And so for me, the original vision for my podcast, which it has shifted a bit, was victim, survivor, warrior. And I feel like it is this huge mindset shift of, being in the victim mindset. And we're all going to have our stuff, and some people's stuff is clearly a lot harder than others. But when you're in that victim place, it doesn't serve us. It doesn't mean you're not a victim of whatever circumstances have happened, but you're giving your power to whatever that is if you remain in that place, in my opinion. And so if you can shift that mindset from victim to survivor, I feel like it's the same circumstances. Whatever has happened has happened. But rather than being victim and giving up your power, you take your power back by becoming a survivor of it. It doesn't have control over you. It's a thing that happened in your life that made you who you are, and you're hopefully better for it if you choose to be. So it's just really shifting from victim to survivor is taking your power back from whatever those circumstances are. And then warrior for me is a whole nother level of that. And that's just that survivor taking whatever circumstances they have experienced and maybe overcome and using that to impact other people's lives. And so that to me is kind of being in warrior mode. Obviously, warrior can have so many different meanings, but in
Sure.
this context, it's using your life experiences to help others and impact their life through your experiences.
And that's an important message you want to share through the retreats and stuff, yes?
Yes, through the retreats, through the podcasts, and from the lighthearted stuff to the love and shenanigans to just the real deep down stuff, the raw stuff, and all of it, I hope can empower people to live their best lives.
Yeah, and I think that's important, right? So that's funny you say that because I hear people all the time talking about living their best life and the best this and the best that. And I think one of the big things that we got to realize is that is kind of like what I say for the On Purpose podcast. Living a purposeful life is never going to be a destination. Your best life is never a destination. It's always a journey.
Exactly. It's a journey, and it's a choice every day, to find the best in every day. That to me is your best life. It's not having the best of things. That's great. But it's finding the best in every day.
Yes, absolutely. And the best in every day. And just like you said earlier, I love using this quote as well, is that life is happening for me, not to me.
Yes,
Right?
100% believe that.
So
Yep.
whatever's going on is for you. It's your job to stop, survey the land, and figure out, okay, what is this for? And how is this helping me? Right? Too many times.
Exactly. And the one thing,
Go ahead.
go, yeah. Oh, I just was going to say the one thing I've learned is usually the biggest obstacle in my life is myself.
For
You
sure.
know?
Yeah, I would say that that's true for about 99% of the world. Is the biggest hurdle to success, to dreams, to being who they really want to be is usually themselves.
Yeah, we're usually in our own way. If we get out of our own way, man, sky's the limit.
Yeah, and it's so weird, right? Like so many people are, and I come across this all the time. Like they want to do these things, but they're so afraid of judgment of others that they'll shy away from their talent. They'll shy away from the greatness. And what I always try to tell them is realize that person you think is watching you to see if you fail, they are so busy over there worrying about who's watching them that they're not watching you.
Absolutely.
You
And
know, nobody's actually
it's
being
funny.
watched, but we all think we're being
No,
watched.
exactly. And those that might happen to judge, so what, you know? Um, my husband laughs because honestly, we were both very, very shy as kids. And it's a wonder we ever actually even talked to each other back in high school. Um, and we're going on 27 years together and 22 married now. So
Nice.
it's pretty awesome. But that said, he said there was just this season in our life, and it was a hard point as he was losing his career, and our marriage was a little bit struggling just because we were, going through growing pains. And he's like, man, you just got out of your comfort zone and you like got out of the box, but you didn't just get out of the box, you got out of the box and kicked the box. And like, yeah. And it was so empowering, just as silly as I was so deathly shy. That at a work event, I decided to like, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care. And I did karaoke. And while I love music, I have no musical talent. But it was so empowering to get up there and just suck and be okay with sucking. And I'm like,
Yes.
who else wants to suck up here with me? And so just little, that's such a silly thing, but it was such a powerful moment for me of just learning to not panic.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Do you by chance, this is a weird question, but do you remember what song you sang?
Oh, I think it was Don't Stop Believing. And
Oh,
I sang it
Journey. That's the
terribly.
karaoke jam. That's
It,
like the theme.
right, it is. So yeah, I think I was trying to drag a couple other gals up there that I knew loved the song, but no one came with me. I was solo cholo.
Well, let me tell you my one and only karaoke time because I'm not. I love. We're on the same page. I love music. I listen to music. I'll sing, but I shouldn't be on stage. I don't know why, but we thought we should do "California Love" by Dr. Dre and
Oh
Tupac.
yeah,
We were awful. Let me just put it that way. I'm glad this was back before they had cameras everywhere because we were not. It was not a pretty sight.
it's never pretty, never pretty. But it's still so fun. Like, I guess in that moment, as silly as it is, I felt so alive because I was living without regard for
Yes.
what I should be doing or what I thought I was supposed to be.
Take me down a road for a minute here. What if you hadn't done that moment and you just stayed shy? Would your kids be who they are today?
They wouldn't. In fact, I think it blows people's mind to hear I once was so shy because that's not who, now they know me as the shenanigan enthusiast. So it was like I came alive in that season of my life and just was like, I'm going to live life.
And in turn, you're inspiring those around you to live their lives.
Yes. And I think that's why it's so important to me is because I was just going through the motions. And it wasn't that I was unhappy. I just didn't know how happy I could be, by just living life and letting go of what I thought I should be and just being me. And it turns out me is pretty awesome.
Wow, I love that, right? We didn't know how happy we could be. So we just stayed doing what we were doing. And how many people live like that every day? Like we just don't know because we don't know that there's more happiness out of our comfort zone. We'll stay with what we have in the comfort zone and just try to make ourselves pretend it's happy.
Yeah, I think so many people are just going through the motions. And I want to see more people having those moments. I mean, you can't be having that moment every minute of every day, but those moments where you just really feel alive. That's what I want for
And
people.
do you think, because as you're making this transition to step out of your box and kick it, your husband's probably at the lowest of the low that he's ever been?
Yeah, yeah. And he used to sometimes want me to get out of my comfort zone. And I think once I did, I'm like, be careful what you wish for. Like,
Right.
woohoo.
But
Um,
do you think had he not faced that and you hadn't, like, let's be honest, if he's depressed and he's sad and he's looking at the end of a career, it would be very easy for you to get sucked into that energy too, right? Where now you're looking at the world as against you and rooting to hold you down. And why is this so unfair? But you went the opposite way. You stepped out and started finding the silver linings in everything. Do you think you'd have done that had you not faced what you faced in his career?
no, I don't. And that's why I can come back to it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And, when one person in a relationship is growing and the other maybe is comfortable where they're at. And we've both had turns with that. He was soaring in his career. He loved his career. And I was just going through the motions. And then it kind of flip flopped. And it's about waiting for the other person to grow and catch up and pulling each other along and reminding each other of their magic when they lose it. And so all of it had purpose. And we both reminded each other of our magic along the way.
And I would bet to say if we could fast forward in your lives, that towards the end of this journey in our time here, the lessons you learned by going through that will be some of your greatest memories.
They already are, and I'm so excited for the rest of what we're creating and get to look back on how that was such a pivotal time in our lives that propelled us into all that we are now and are continuing to grow and to be.
And I love it because it's not a golden brick road. It's not a smooth sailing. It's rough seas you guys navigated through. And when you get through it, now you find this, what life could be like on the other side.
100%. And I'm so grateful for the rough road. If it was just the golden brick road the whole way, I think that's what it was for us. It was so easy for so long until it wasn't, and gosh, I don't think you can fully appreciate things like you do until you've gone through the harder part. Because we of course loved and appreciated, but we love and appreciate on a whole new level having gone through those rough waters.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you so much coming on the show and sharing your powerful story with our community. Where can we follow along with you and your adventures?
Absolutely. So you can find the Love and Shenanigans on social media, both on Instagram and Facebook. And it's actually, I think, called The Funny Farm. I'll have to follow up with you on that. Or it's the Shenanigans at the Funny Farm. But the little Funny Farm inspired store is loveandshenanigans.com, but it's love in the letter N, shenanigans.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, there's just so much fun on there, inspired by the animals and just shenanigans and love and how I live life. So it's a lot of fun, and I hope it makes people smile.
Yeah, and it's on Instagram, Shenanigans at the Funny Farm. Yeah, and it's definitely been one of my new favorite follows. We check this out. We love your tumblers and stuff too. They're pretty cool. Shenanigan enthusiast.
Yeah, I'm having so much fun with all of it. It's a creative outlet for me for sure.
Well, we look forward to you launching your podcast. And if there's ever anything the On Purpose community can do for you, please do not hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to connect with you and look forward to remaining in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zanna. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.